Welcome to the Mandalorian Show. This is the Gilded Guys. Golden Guys taking the night off, and we're not going to talk about the election. We're going to talk about, we're part of the Bounty Hunters Guild right now. You're going to bring on my people right now. They're going to come in, and you're going to know who they are, and they're great. And I'm a big fan of these are friends, Rob, John, and Chad. Come on board. Word Balloon, Mr. John Suntress himself. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, nice to see you, JD. Thank you for inviting me tonight. I'm excited to talk about Mando Season 2, Episode 1. It was amazing.
Nice. Did Jarn. Let's bring on Potsy. There he is. How are you?
What's going on?
I see you growing a little no shave November.
Yeah, so that's all got to do with a whole thing with testicular cancer awareness. So
I like it. Yep, I'm gonna tell my wife we're going all the way. We're going Santa this year. All right, come on, Chip. There we go. Here's Chad. He's got a dip in. He's ready to go. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm pumped that I get to actually be on a show with John instead of just being behind the scenes for once.
Yeah.
And
it's been a while, man, since we've done a show together. Absolutely.
And Potsy, any new parodies coming out soon?
yeah, actually, by the way, I love that this is a Mandalorian show because I actually wrote a Mandalorian parody, but I'm still trying to figure out the artist and everything on it. But no, I've got Junior High Horror Strangest Thingies available to be ordered right now by your local comic shop. And it's exactly what you would expect it to be. So
everybody last year, was it the X-Liefelds came out?
Yeah.
And then Junior High Horror. But guess what? It's time to dive into that Mando. And I'm kind of pumped because John, we were on a call, and John literally watched it for the first time 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I just finished it like 5 minutes ago, like Chad said. Yeah.
So
it was amazing.
I'm going to ask John, and JD, I'm sorry that I'm stealing it from you, but
Go ahead.
I'm going to throw up some pictures and ask John if he recognizes some of these people.
Sure.
Oh, dang it. All right. So the gentleman at the Fight Club with the one eye that Mando was talking, who was the actor?
Well, I saw the credits, so that was John Leguizamo, correct?
Yep. And we had our first full-on Deadwood reunion.
Yep, we did.
Because the bartender was in Deadwood.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then a couple other little tidbits. The worm, the dragon, right?
The crate dragon.
So when was the first time in Star Wars mytho that we saw the crate dragon?
Star Wars New Hope. You saw the skeleton. Yep.
Nice.
And
it was a crate dragon, and the pearl inside is priceless heirloom. You have to read the extended universe of that. But it's one of the favorite things I like about Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau doing this is they throw back things. If you were just a movie fan and believe that's canon, it's in there. If you're a fan of video games, you certainly know what the Crate Dragon Pearl brings you in Knights of the Old Republic. They throw things back to both the Filoni's own series. We're going to get some key characters coming up from Clone Wars and Rebels. It's going to happen. It's Filoni's baby, and he's directing episode 5. So the only one I know that Filoni is doing is episode 5. So I expect that to be the one of the debut of whoever he introduced. But
interestingly enough, JD, not to interrupt you, but this was also the first episode that Favreau himself directed.
Right. Who did the first episode?
Yeah, that's it. I thought he had done the first.
I think he did one of one too.
So I thought he actually just wrote the first episode straight up for the first season.
Well, I defer to you guys because honestly, I'm a Star Wars fan, but I am not hardcore like I am with other genres. Or even and again, I've loved Mandalorian. I've watched both seasons, now, and I'm caught up. But yeah, I'm not as steeped in the deep dive lore, but I still love everything, and finding out that all this stuff is also in the extended universe. That's awesome.
It's one of the best things that they do is even the characters, the aliens, are throwbacks, whether it be the Gamorrean guards from Return of the Jedi or the Zabaks with Darth Maul's species, Yoda's species, the repeats that we're getting, the Trandoshans, the that fought in season 1 at the other cave. But this episode, it's my favorite thing it does is it's a Western.
Oh yeah.
And they admitted it was a Western, and they brought in Seth Bullock himself, Timothy Ophelion, who's one of my I love Deadwood with passion, and just that voice, just
Justified too.
So by the way, guys, Dave Filoni actually directed the very first episode that was written by Favreau.
Okay.
This was the first Favreau directed episode.
That's awesome.
I wonder if he's going to do more this year, because I don't know if they announced all the directors. All I know is Filoni for sure is the writer director of that episode 5, because that was something that came out. Filoni said it himself. I'm only doing episode 5, so. But what do you think? I mean, the westernness of it. It's so perfect genre.
Yeah. Well, that's genre splicing is like one of the best things that have happened, and I suppose it's always been around because I mean, certainly samurai films and westerns have influenced each other over the decades now. But no, it's fantastic. It's great that they do this, and certainly the western is prevalent. But in that opening scene, I would even suggest that it's even a bit of noir in there, where it easily could have been a 40s RKO film noir opening at a boxing match. And you got the gangster that's fixing the fight, dealing with a gunsel. So yeah,
I personally love the fact that almost every episode of this series seems to be of the there's only 8 stories truly out there. Like the last episode, which the last episode of season 1, which was directed by Taika Waititi, was pretty much Terminator 2. Even the robot going down into the liquid was sitting there. IG-11 was sitting there with the thumbs up at the end, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end of Terminator 2. There was another episode that was pretty much where the child was Alien, from Ridley Scott's Alien. So running through the different ports and everything else throughout the whole thing. So the idea that the show just utilizes all of these different elements, and every episode seems to be a different genre of something. We had a samurai episode. We had, obviously we've got the Western episode. We've got
break episode.
Right. Yeah, I always say the Bill Burr Prison Break episode is such a great standalone episode.
Just using all these comedians as they have, and I don't know why, but it literally, and I wasn't paying attention to the credit roll, but on this new episode, I forget her name, but the lady at the Fix-It place where he goes for
that's
Amy Sedaris. And I'm like, I think that's Amy Sedaris under all that makeup and hair, and sure enough, it is, and it's like, oh, that's great, because she's vastly underrated as a character actor and comedian. I just
say as a great character actress. Yeah. One of the you mentioned Taika Waititi being the director. He also won an award for being the voice of IG-11, which is part of the cameos. We mentioned John Leguizamo and Mark Hamill's in them. I mean, there's going to be cameos this year, and I kind of think Seth Bullock himself or Timothy Ophelion, that was a surprise. I had no idea he was ever cast in this thing, and when the episode was titled The Marshal, it made me think, oh, they're going to do High Noon. And it sure as shit started off like High Noon,
High Noon, Real Lobo.
Like a John Ford was about to happen. Yeah. It was right there. And just the sit down, and then this is going to end one of two ways. And leads into the fact that they're riding on these horsebacks or these speeder bikes. One's made out of literally Anakin's pod. That's the thing. Timothy Ophelion's Speed Racer was powered by Anakin's pod.
That's hilarious.
One of the pods there is from Anakin Skywalker, and it's like, is it supposed to be that? And he said, absolutely. That's what it's from. I mean, it ties in things. It's a great cameo scene right there. but I love the characters, the way they fed off each other, and I mean, if you want to get, I think the best scene had little dialogue, more of just the emotion, was the campfire or the blazing saddle scene of the Sand People and
Mando and the Marshal, yeah.
Mando and Marshall and Yoda. It was done in sign language, and it was literal sign language. It wasn't made up sign language. They were using real sign language.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was sitting there, I'm like, that's sign language. I'm like, they're really talking. He's literally saying, fight together, you know, we're gonna die. You know, I was like, wow, that's pretty good.
It's funny. I mean, I took that more as a City Slickers line, you know, like the whole scene was just, it kind of felt like when they're all around, you know, eating the beans in City Slickers, and it's like, well, you know, now that Curly's dead, we're gonna have to do this ourselves. I just kind of felt like that was City Slickers.
Yeah,
well, it's funny that you say that it is real sign language. That's excellent, and you'll forgive me, guys, and I'll try not to do this very much and really keep it purely Star Wars talk. But I have to point out, in contrast, how miserable new Star Trek is compared to what we're getting with Mandalorian. And they try so hard to be woke and inclusive that they literally like, here, see, look, we got diverse characters all over the place. Look how diverse we are. And they had this like ridiculous scene where things were going on the ship and there was chaos. And way in the back, you could see a guy in a wheelchair kind of scoot by. And it's like, well, that's our way of saying that the disabled are going to be here. And it's like, yeah, but it's Star Trek, and they've already come up with cybernetic legs and other cybernetic things that a wheelchair is unnecessary. And it really got me angry because it's like, you're trying too hard. And here's the sign language used in a great way to include the hearing impaired. And that's amazing.
Well, John, it's not even there. It's also the fact that, you know, in Picard, they actually were able to clone Picard. So it's not like, you know, and sorry for breaking that to anybody that didn't watch it, but, you know, like they cloned him. So he's already 106 years old or whatever at that point. Then they just cloned him with a robot body so that he could continue on for the second season.
I mean, was it an actual wheelchair, or was it one of those floor cleaning Captain Pike things?
It wasn't a Captain Pike. Well, it certainly didn't look like a Captain Pike chair. It was all, you know, entombed the way.
For those of you who don't know, Captain Pike was one of the original. Was the Enterprise captain prior to Kirk.
That's right.
If you watch the modern ones, but he rode around in a rug doctor machine. It looks like literally it's a rug doctor machine where he's sitting down and he just a neck.
Well, yeah, he had a bad radiation dose.
Yeah, and he had like 2 or 3 different buttons would work.
Yeah, it completely incapacitated him to the point where all he could do is flash yes and no for answers because he's trapped in this body that doesn't work. Very sad. Moment of silence for poor Captain Pike.
What you're saying, Chris Barrett, just echoes. If you want to be inclusive, do it in a way that fits the story. And you want to know what? If you try to do something or you force things on yourself in doing anything creative, it never works. It's spontaneity is the key to everything when it comes down to our artistry, is how spontaneous you can make things. Yeah. And it's not changing something for the sake of changing anything. In the case of Mando and everything else like that, you've got a diverse universe right there of all these different aliens and everything else. And and I kind of think it's inclusive. It's inclusive in everything. And I kind of think people like the fact that, you know, it casted Carl Weathers, one of the best there, as a perfect character. I mean, it's a perfect actor for that role. It works great.
Gina. I always forget her name.
Gina Carano.
Gina Carano
was
She's
amazing.
Perfect. She is still.
And you know, like I've now watched all of the. I've watched all of those videos that they did the you know, the whole behind the scenes stuff for it, and they talk about how like when Filoni and Favreau were trying to figure out who that female lead was going to be. That like even the artist renditions were Gina Carano, and it's like, we just want her for the role. And when they called her, she was like, totally, I want to be part of it. And it was all because they watched the movie Haywire that had her in it, and and they were like, you were just so perfect in that, and we want you and everything else. And she was like, well, why would I say no to Star Wars? Like, I'm a super geek too. I want to be part of it. And I mean, she was perfectly cast for that role. But then like, even like the mannerisms and stuff, like they said that when she was filming those scenes, they didn't have to tell her act like this. She just had that presence to her, and it just made, you know, her background as an MMA fighter just made it that much easier for her to look that intimidating.
I mean, as good as the Deadpool movie was, she was stoic, and in this movie, she acted with chops. I mean, she had heart, she had humor, heart, and emotion. And you know, some people say she was stoic in the middle, but again, she's not an actress yet. She's getting there. You know, she's going to be great, and she's cast. She's going to see a lot more of her. One of the things I did like about and her dad used to play for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not going to hold it against her. But one of the Sand People and you need to come together to fight the big problem. That was great. I mean, it was just the way Bullock, or I keep saying Bullock, the Marshal went in there. He told Mando, they're not going to go for it, but we'll give it a shot. And he pulled on their emotions until they said they want to do it. And then when they showed up, there was a little tiff, and he's the one who settled it down. I think that, you know, the Sand People being the villains in the first movie have been since the victim in Attack of the Clones, and kind of like since Mando's been around, they've been a ally to the main protagonist instead of, you know, they were the victim of the protagonist, I guess you'd say Anakin was in Attack of the Clones.
I loved that the Tusken Raiders were all about honor. Mm-hmm. So if they made a deal, they were going to honor the deal, you know. Yep. And I loved when the dragon was sitting there spitting out that stuff, and you just watch Tusken Raiders just melting, and they're still sitting there going, "Well, we made a deal. We're gonna take this on." You know, it was just amazing.
Mm-hmm. And I love the kind of like those old videos of cutting whales open. Not that it's a good thing, but the meat scene was just great. You get to see people walking out with just cutting up meat right there. It was not for the vegan friendly at all, but it was great. And
you know, again, God forbid it was vegan, because again, then they're in Star Trek territory. It's like, no, it was real. It was real.
Really,
you don't need a replicator.
Yeah, I never saw that.
The one thing that I'm going to take from this is I didn't watch Rebels. I mean, I've watched Rebels. I don't know their names. I'm assuming Potsy, you probably know their names, right? The characters. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm going to circle back, but the one thing that you guys had been talking about is the whole mytho of the Western feel. Well, I mean, Boba Fett himself was based off of Clint Eastwood's character, down to the colors, and that's why he wears the spurs, and that's why you hear the spurs. Now, we did get a little bit of a sneak peek into Django and to Boba Fett, right? By this actor. He showed up, and he's here. He is right here.
Sure.
Now, this character also. Now, I don't know if this is a little bit of a tease, but could it be Rex?
No,
you don't think
Rex wouldn't be on Tatooine?
Well, you
know
that Ahsoka is showing up,
right?
And there's a good possibility it's in the next episode, but Potsy left. Damn.
I kind of think we're not going to see her till 5 when Filoni does it.
Well, I mean, who's this character?
That's Sabine Wren.
Okay, if you notice when they were walking into the bar at the beginning, all the graffiti, right?
Yeah.
So I actually, and Potsy's back. Cool. Savine Wren is already, it shows all the spray paint art when they're walking into it. I actually said this on another show that I talked about. I think Savine Wren is going to show up, and she's in. If you look on IMBD or
Yeah.
This character, they don't have the name of it, but I actually think Sasha is going to be Sabine Wren.
Well, obviously with the purple hair and everything, it's possible that is who they bring in to play that character.
But it could be her mother too.
Yeah.
I think it now. The other thing is, if you guys go back and listen to the theme music from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then listen to the theme song from the Mandalorian.
Oh, totally.
I'm going to play it. Here it is. That is a Western in its own right there.
Oh, 100%.
So I like where they're going with it. I think the casting is dead on. I think if you guys haven't, this is roughly based off of an old book from Star Wars. But that book, the child is not Yoda.
No.
It is a Hutt.
Yep.
And also Timothy, his character is in this book as well. He was a slave, and when the Hutts fell, he came across Bobo's armor, and same exact storyline. So they're actually bringing back some of those out of canon stories and making them canon since the Disney bought them.
Which is smart. I mean, that's, dude, again, this is what we all as Star Trek fans had hoped for as well, in terms of there's literally decades of great Star Wars stories between the novels and the comics, everything else, the games, that, of course, why not? I mean, it's a great opportunity to bring that stuff into canon and really make some amazing stories, and I'm glad they're doing it.
Before Empire came out, there was a book written called Splinter the Mind's Eye, which I read later on.
Alan Dean Foster.
Yep. It was a great sideline one shot of the in-between A New Hope and Empire. That isn't canon because it wouldn't make sense nowadays.
Right.
But a lot of that they've taken things from there and used them, holocrons and stuff like that. And, the thing with the Star Wars, I always say when the expanding universe really started, when Timothy Zahn wrote Heir to the Empire, which was way better than The Force Awakens. When Timothy Zahn did Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command in the 90s, all of a sudden Ken Anderson and all these well-known writers just started, well-known worldwide artists just started taking their own stamp and saying, is this okay if we do it? Yeah, do what you want. We're not making anymore. We're done. Then the new things came out. Then all of a sudden we had the prequels. And the comic went on. You got to went on. There was the rabbits. The Porgs are based on the rabbit from this series. This is, just.
What issue is that? What number?
68.
Cool.
Yeah, this is the first time Mandalorians are mentioned.
And who wrote and drew that?
Gene Day and
Gene Day.
Dave Michelini did the Star Wars back then.
Michelini, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, two amazing Marvel creators. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say the Dark Horse years, man. That's the thing. Like John Ostrander and Jan Duursma, great comic book team, and created so much interesting extended universe material. And I always loved talking to them about what they were making when they were still doing it up until Dark Horse lost the license to Marvel.
Yeah, when they did that, I think it was called Blood Ties or something, was the arc in the Dark Horse where Chad's talking about the Boba Fett and I think it was Blood Ties or something. There's the first issue is Boba Fett is dead, and it's just on the cover, and it's just a good run right there of that arc.
Yeah.
But I remember reading a lot.
Great idea.
And Dark, what I liked about it is when you had I think his name was Steve Perry, not the guy from Journey. Steve Perry wrote a book called Shadow of the Empire, which
Yes.
then became a comic and a video game, and introduced characters Dash Rendar and Prince Zizor and everything else like that.
Yep.
I want to see. I know, but that's so. You had Grand Admiral Thrawn show up in the Rebels series, which is from the Timothy Zahn series. I'm gotta think they're gonna add something from this series, the Dash Rendar character, because that's who I really thought Ophelion was gonna end up being. I want to say my excitement to see was Timothy Ophelion. I'm like, he's Dash Rendar because he was on Tatooine, and he was a swoop rider, which is the bike that he's riding. But it just didn't come out. I was waiting for to say his name was Dash Rendar. It just would have been fanboy over the top. But Shadow of the Empire was there, and it's one of the best series.
John brought up a good point when he was talking about the old, the Dark Horse run. If Disney, and by all means, they are super smart. They're doing the great thing. They're putting, what's his name, Avengers guy. Feige is going into the Star Wars realm.
Absolutely.
Everything's going to be great.
He's been waiting to do this.
But he's the only person that could pull off a crossover like this. In Star Wars 19 by Dark Horse in 2004, we got this. So the backstory on this panel is Indiana Jones is actually looking for Bigfoot somewhere out in the Midwest, out in the West, and they come across a cave. Well, the cave turns out to be metal, and as you can see, Han Solo took an arrow to the chest by a Native American. So this is the first time Indiana Jones is standing over Han Solo. I love. It's a short story. It's one of my favorites. But I mean, Disney's got. Yeah. They've got they scored huge when they got this, and I'm not saying anything against Lucas. Lucas did a good job on the original trilogies, and then we all got the Jar Jars. But I think right now this is the one thing, and the Avengers. I think they're doing a very good job at keeping this series, this franchise fresh. Oh, now where it goes after this, who knows?
Yeah,
nice. One of the you brought up Lucas and everything else. I always say that as much as I'm obviously a Star Wars much, but Lawrence Kasdan, and Irvin Kershner deserve as much credit for this universe, if not more. They were the directors of Empire. They were the writers with George Lucas on the screenplay.
But no credit to Richard Marquand, who directed Jedi. I'm kidding.
No, you could. I mean, I like the thing about Jedi was the money. And I heard this story before, was that George was actually going to be very, very more expensive. And the choice was Ewoks or Wookiees. And it was millions of dollars more for Wookiees. So they went with the Ewoks. And that was the story, because the original storyline of there was the battle was on Kashyyyk.
Sure.
See, it's funny you say that, JD, because I had always heard that the reason why they went with Ewoks was because they were more child friendly, and it allowed for the action figure line and the 2 Ewok movies to come out from that.
They did bring that up, and I think that was a bonus part of doing the cute little the Baby Yoda thing and everything else. That was a part of it, because let's be honest, Empire was so dark, but Empire was dark, and then the campiness of the teddy bears taking. I mean, if it was Wookiees, originally the reason why was the money.
I did hear that it was supposed to be Wookiees too, and
just financially.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of funny if you look at the IMDb. I believe in this upcoming episode, we're going to get a bounty hunter Ewok. The very first bounty hunter Ewok. It's going to be somebody of small stature. If you look on the IMDb, but I think we're going to get a bounty hunter, maybe Wicket. Remember Wicket?
Warwick Davis.
No, it's not. It's another actor, but I think we're getting a. I gotta say something. And since everything's been shut down from the pandemic, Disney has been fast tracking an attraction in Orlando that I think they're trying to recreate it, but as an Avengers over in on the Pacific. But this hotel that you're gonna go to, you go into this hotel and literally you check in. You can once you check in, you can't leave for 24 hours because the experience is that you're gonna be on an actual spaceship and it flies. These are the rooms, man. You're gonna tell me, like, as a kid, I would have, as an adult,
God.
I would have. I'm still gonna kill to go to this thing.
46 years old. I'm going. I'll go.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Exactly.
Now, Chad, JD, John, I actually just got back from Disney about a month ago.
Really?
And I did the whole not the hotel experience because that's not there yet, but I did get to do the whole thing where I flew the Millennium Falcon and I did the Rise of the Resistance and I'll tell you, the theming that they have done in Disney for Star Wars Land is phenomenal.
Cool.
And I've even heard even further than what Chad was saying that in that hotel you actually get bounties that you have to do so that when you're in there for that 24 hours you actually have to take on a bounty quest and other things. And it just sounds like it's something that you hear about in like Abu Dhabi all the time, you know, or you know, definitely overseas where you know, like just rich people can rent out the bat cave for a night or whatever. But yeah, I can already tell you that like the experience of being able to take on bounties and stuff in the Star Wars world and staying at a hotel that's based on that kind of stuff just sounds freaking awesome.
I was pretty in. We're going in, I think, a couple of years with the kids, unless I go by myself, which we were going to do this year in Orlando. When Chad and I were going to MegaCon, we said we're going to go, but you know, it's always I kind of think the Disney Star Wars. At first, I was like, they're gonna movies aside, everything else they've done, they've knocked it out of the park. The toys and everything, the toy line, are better than ever. I mean, they know what they're doing.
So
I think they went a little overboard with a bunch of the stuff that they did, you know, like, but at the same time, I mean, like, it's a license, it's a billion dollar license that they've got. So I mean, they're gonna make everything they can out of it. But I would like to see more collectibles that are actually like limited from it, so that way, like you know, the Comic Core or whatever, those folks, when they pick up something that, you know, comes right out of the Mandalorian, it is a limited edition thing that comes out of it.
Nice.
Barbarian Kung Fu says, "Yo, what's up, Chad?" I say, "Hey, what's going on?" Drew is in there. Troll. He says, "Comic Core group trip. I'm down for that." From Chris Barrett. Drew's printing money even with shitty movies. That's typical Drew. But I mean,
not wrong.
You know, they Filoni did an awesome job on the Clone Wars and close like capturing it. So having him and Farber involved on the TV show, it's a win, right?
Yeah.
I saw yesterday, you know, they are going to have these other shows coming out, and I know we're talking Mando, but I just saw where they're announcing that, so that you're getting eight episodes, and apparently they're talking about dropping WandaVision on the 25th, December 25th, on Christmas Day.
Yeah, well, I had heard that it was definitely supposed to be December, and it was definitely supposed to be 2020. and all things considered, I mean, like I'm a huge Kat Dennings fan, and apparently she's making an appearance in that show. So I'm totally down for anything that they're going to drop in terms of new content because I'm going to say that I kind of feel like the Disney Plus content had kind of, after Hamilton in July kind of just slowed down, except for Mulan for a while, and we were just begging for the Mando to show back up.
Drew has a good comment right there. Rogue One and Solo were both enjoyable.
I agree with that.
I thought Solo is probably one of the most underrated Star Wars films.
Completely agree.
I love Rogue One though. I love Rogue One.
And Rogue One was a lot of fun too. It was a dark horse comic book come to life to me. Just a bunch of what we had hoped for, at least what I had hoped for Star Wars, in terms of you can tell a Star Wars story without it being another Jedi story and everything, and you can just really focus on the universe. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that you could pull from it.
At the same time, I will argue Solo just a little bit, and the reason why is because when I watched Solo, I kind of felt like here's Han Solo. He's supposed to be this great smuggler, right? And he's supposed to be this great guy, and yet everything he did apparently happened in one weekend in that Solo movie.
Oh yeah, that's flaws.
Instead of okay, we're gonna do the 12 parsecs, or hey, we're gonna do this, or hey, this is when I met you. Like everything happened in one weekend, and it just felt like okay, really, he had one good weekend, and because of that, he's famous. Come on,
he's not. He's not famous. He's famous in his own eyes. He's the one promoting himself.
Everybody knows Solo though. That's the whole thing. Chad is like he wouldn't be something that the Hutts were truly going after like that if it was just one weekend. Well, like he would have made up for that at this point.
This is the thing about the ending when he says, "I'm going to go take that job for Jabba." We don't think it's the one that he dropped it at the first sign of Imperial because he did many jobs for Jabba the Hutt. In the Solo stories in the books. He did a lot, but they took from there the Carillion grow up. They definitely did change the parsec thing, and the Lando thing wasn't at the same time. Winning the ship at a card game did happen. That's how all that stuff happened. But the one thing is that Lando and Han had several times have met up in their smuggling days and going over there and everything else. They kept in touch. I don't know if they had cell phones. They don't seem to have them in space, but it definitely was the fact that I like Solo kind of it. I didn't like the actor as much, but it kind of, you're right. They pushed it all together, but it did answer things. One thing I want to ask you guys now before I might have to go up because my wife and my kids might not make it through the night. There's a fight up there, but what do you want to see in Mandalorian this coming season? What's one of the things you want to see? I'll start with mine just because I've been thinking about it for a while. I want to see Ahsoka and everything else. Yeah, I want to see somehow they make this season, they find something along the way, or he goes to find out and we get to the true nature of the Darksaber, and I want to see more Moff Gideon this year. I want to see that chase of everything else. I want to see the battle, Ahsoka versus with the lightsabers, and I want to see it once in here because I want to see the reaction of the baby Yoda watching that.
I already think that based on things that I've read, they talk about how Pedro Pascal actually, wanted more time without the mask on, which kind of totally defeats the purpose of The Mandalorian. And how because of that, the creators Filoni and Favreau decided they wanted to explore the other characters more and flesh them out. So there's a lot less Mandalorian halfway through the season because of Pascal giving such trouble apparently behind the scenes. But I want to see. I personally felt that they did a really good job of developing all the side characters like Nick Nolte Gina Carano and Carl Weathers, that I really want to see what those characters are up to, and I really want them to continue to flesh out their stories, and maybe pull a fast one on us at the end and be like, "Ha, we fooled you." Now Pedro Pascal is actually fully back invested and involved with the show, because I mean, why would he not be, right? But I just want to see like where those characters are. I want to see what they're developing. And obviously the character that shows up at the end of the first episode, I really want to see what they do with that, because when Timothy Olyphant shows up and he's wearing Boba Fett's armor, you're like, wait a second, what's going on here? And of course they even dropped the line of well, I've never seen a Sarlacc pit without a Sarlacc. And it's like, well, if the Sarlacc's dead, then there's just an empty pit, right? So you start wondering, like, did Boba Fett give the Sarlacc indigestion, or like, what's the deal here? What's going on?
Or did the great dragon eat it?
Yeah, I mean, I just, that character that doesn't have any armor on, that everybody seems to think is somebody specific. I want to know why he doesn't want to wear the armor now. I want to, if that's who he's supposed to be, I want to know why he doesn't have that, and I want to go from there.
I've heard that story, but I've also heard it debunked by Pedro himself, saying, "No, I'm putting the helmet on. I'm not taking it off." I did once, and he said he was going to do it at the end, but he did want, I don't know if he wanted more cheddar cheese, maybe, because it's making some money.
What do you want to see, John?
I heard he likes salad, so I mean, like, he wants a little bit more salad.
Yeah.
I'm going to disappoint you guys, because honestly, I have no, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I have no expectations. I am a blank slate. It's like, entertain me. And that's been the wonderful joy watching this show. It's just good Star Wars, period. And they're just doing everything right. They're introducing new characters. They're doing great callbacks without it being obvious. It's what it should be. And it was what I had hoped would happen with the sequels. And frankly, thank God Feige is coming in to coordinate things. And thank God we got, and I'm sorry, what's the other guy other than Favreau?
Dave Filoni.
Filoni, yes. I was going to say Foley. Yeah, Dave Filoni. Yeah, I mean, these guys, that's the thing, man. These guys love the franchise, and just like Feige loves Marvel, and clearly does love Star Wars. It's like you need people that love this stuff. And by all means, again, inclusion is great, but it should not be in sacrifice of stories that make sense. And that's the thing. I mean, like you said earlier, JD and Rob, they're really just kind of focusing on the 8 basic stories. That's all you need. And instead of complicating things, they just give us good premises with recognizable alien races, and we're having a blast. I mean, that's all we wanted. It's just fun, and it's just pure fun.
John,
so I'm good.
You touched upon that right there, and I was actually thinking that earlier when JD was talking about stuff. I think it's the simplicity of the show in a lot of cases. It's they're giving us exactly what we expect, but yet doing it in a way where we're still like shocked and in awe of the end result of the episodes. Like the fact that like in the first season, Mando actually grew a respect for a robot after that for whatever reason he does not like robots, and yet they never really go into that. But yet by the end of that first season, he's sitting there like I now respect the IG-11 because of what he did and how he did it.
I mean, they absolutely did. He killed his parents. The droids killed his entire planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
during
they
the
did end
Clone
up showing
Wars.
it by the end. You're absolutely right, but like that robot had nothing to do with it. It wasn't a specific brand of robots or whatever. Although he did know that it was a bounty hunting robot, and of course Nick Nolte sits there and completely just reprograms it to be a nurse. So it's like thing. I don't trust that thing. Well, maybe you need to, because I've spoken. Like that's just the way it is.
I will. In the Clone Wars, Mandalorians hate the droids. Hate droids. They don't use
Well,
droids.
it goes back to the Clone War, right? It's clones versus droids.
Yep.
It's the whole basis and basic concept of it.
Well, here's what I want to see. I want to see more references to 1980 toys as we did in the first one, because we finally got to see Boba Fett shoot that rocket. And I think the show's great. I can't wait to see where it goes. I think it's fantastic. But the boys still beat them in the ratings war.
Did they?
Yes.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I heard that the first day that was the case.
So,
guys, they're going to keep. And forgive me, I was just going to say regarding the numbers, we're never going to get a straight answer on numbers, and it's very interesting how that has changed.
Yeah,
I mean, they just keep them. They just keep them to themselves. I mean, I've had these conversations with showrunners of other streaming shows and creators and stuff, and it's just it's
all it is subscriptions. It's subscriptions, and that company who is your streaming service has every right at any point, and every contract says this: we can cancel you at any time.
Oh, sure,
100%. It's not
Absolutely.
like network TVs where they give you a 13-episode commitment,
right, or a 7-year commitment, or
they
whatever.
give you a 9. You make 9 episodes, we'll stream you, and if any point we think it sucks, we're canceling you.
So the difference was season 2 premiere came out at a 5.2%, and the season 2 premiere of The Boys came in at a 7.2%.
Wow.
I still think there are more Prime
there, though, Chad.
There are more Prime subscribers
because
too.
of the shipping. My wife. I mean, we should do a show
Right.
on what my
so
wife got.
the question there, obviously being a pro wrestling fan like I am, I understand that certain networks have more households that can actually see it. So is it possible that it's all because SmackDown being on Fox is going to get more viewers than Raw on USA because of that?
Well, so here's the difference, Patina, and I'm not debating this, but the difference between Amazon and Disney is Disney has been offering free memberships for the past month and a half, so people could watch. Amazon doesn't offer free. Amazon doesn't offer free.
No, but they've been around longer. Yeah, but they've been around longer, and also people like. I mean, like you said, I mean, Amazon. People would join Amazon just to get the 2-day, fulfillment. 2-day shipping, and as a bonus, you get this incredible streaming channel. Yeah. I mean, that's why I told friends who were playing around with like when streaming was brand new. And I'm like, Amazon is like the best value because you're going to buy stuff from Amazon regardless. You're going to get it faster. And they're throwing in this incredible streaming channel that from the start, I mean, they just, again, from A Man in the High Castle and some of their early shows immediately had good content. It wasn't getting the buzz that Netflix was, but the quality was there. And so it doesn't. And again, the boys,
Bosch,
Good friend of mine was the guest star on Bosch this last season, Julianne Emery, and just did a great. I mean, she's like the queen of streaming and basic cable because she was on Clooney's. She played Clooney's wife in Failsafe. She was first season of Fargo, first season of The Riches, the Eddie Izzard show on FX. I mean, she just kills it every time. And I'm so happy for her because she's a great lady. She's fantastic and a great actress and just a good person. Loves Star Wars, loves total nerd like us. I mean, she's terrific. I'm hoping someday she'll either get the Star Wars gig or a Star Trek gig. She's been trying hard for years. It's very funny.
Kevin Smith said this, and when you said Star Trek, John, I said this to you. Star Trek was the director that brought it back.
J.J.
J.J.
Abrams.
Abrams.
Yeah.
So JJ was like, I want to do a Star Wars movie. I want to do a Star Wars movie. I want to do a Star Wars movie. Hey, do you want to do Star Trek? Yeah, I'll do Star Trek. He took Star Trek, made it Star Wars,
Yes.
and then
then
Star
left.
Wars was like, oh, you know what? We could do this. And then he was like, I'm out. And then
Yeah.
Star
And
that
fucked
first
up
movie
Star
was-
Trek in the
that-
process.
I thought the first movie was fantastic.
It's
didn't.
fun.
I
It's
didn't.
fun.
It's a summer
But-
movie. It's a
No.
summer
Well,
movie.
No. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is the bar,
Right.
and
You
nothing.
You mean the
has been-
remake?
No,
No.
the remake with the cast that he had. Benjamin Cumberbatch, I love you as Doctor Strange, but you are no Ricardo Montalban.
Oh my God. Oh, Star Trek
And
Into Darkness
the
is an
original-
abomination.
The original episode from I think season
Spacey.
2, Space,
Spacey.
yeah, great one. Ricardo Montalban with the dark hair and his wife that you talk about. They never mentioned Marilyn's real name in Wrath of Khan. That's who it is. But it's if you want to enjoy yourself, I recommend you do this. Watch the original episode. Space Seed, which is about the USS
Botany Bay.
Botany Bay. That's the name of it. The Botany Bay,
I'm here. I
And-
got your back, Katie.
and they ship him down to the planet
It's like you got two chats.
to not Rigel 5. It's something 5 and ends up 6.
SETI Alpha 5.
SETI Alpha
Yes,
5
it's
and
SETI
SETI
Alpha
Alpha
5.
CETI, SETI Alpha 5, SETI Alpha 6. And that's, and then you go to Wrath of Khan. That is like a callback. That is the Star Trek fans' callback to the original series.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have that anymore. Now it's like, oh, wow, they're going to have Khan. And you watch the movie and like, it's terrible.
They didn't earn it. They didn't earn it.
And even, I didn't like the first one.
Everything that happens in Wrath of Khan
Yeah.
is earned because we've been loving these characters for decades. We had loved them for over 20 years.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, I always say the subtext to Wrath of Khan is Kirk, I'm getting too old for this shit. And
Yep.
Spock throughout the entire movie, he only says it when he says it was a mistake for you to accept promotion. Commanding a starship is your best destiny. And after that, the subtext is, I don't know if I can do this. That's Kirk. Spock is, we got this.
Yeah.
And I believe in you. And even if you don't believe in you, I know you. We've got this. And then all of a sudden, the movie, comes to its close.
Yep.
Spock has to sacrifice his life to save the ship. And all of a sudden, Kirk's like, wow, we did it. And he looks over and the chair's empty. And he's like, holy shit. And all of a sudden, you hear McCoy go, Jim, you better come down here and you better hurry.
Yeah.
And really, they earned that death scene.
Mhm.
They
And even,
and then you go to Darkness, and it's these guys just met each other.
Yep.
And supposedly through this ridiculous mind meld, oh my God, you're my best friend. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, but yeah, it's like it's such bullshit. And it was such a slap in the face to all of us. That and also even poor Leonard Nimoy's final Star Trek scene,
Yes.
where Zachary Quinto calls them and says, "What can you tell me about Khan?"
yeah,
It's such shit.
It
oh
is.
my God.
I mean,
You're gonna get a bust out laugh on this one, but Drew in the chat says
I love it.
John Suntress the star in My Two Chads.
My two chads, absolutely. It's true. I'm here to translate for both of you guys. Absolutely. It's
I
true.
don't know if you guys saw. As soon as that chat came up, I was like this because I was just laughing so hard.
No, Drew nailed it, man. He's right. So yeah, sorry, man. I didn't mean to again. make it
no,
a Star
but you
Trek
brought
thing.
up the best point because I always think of the end of Wrath of Khan, the funeral scene, and for all the people all the souls
yeah.
I've ever known in all my life, his was the most human.
Human. Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
get that. You don't that
No.
emotion scene we don't have. And then if you go into Darkness, it would make no sense for him to say that.
Right.
I'm glad
Well, again, they haven't earned that. They haven't earned that literally 25 or 20-year friendship that
Right.
we all were on the mission with them. We
Yep.
know these guys, and we don't know these new JJ guys. And again, I thought the first movie was fun, and I'm glad they came up with the alternate universe to validate what came before.
right.
But other than that, and Beyond was okay. There's parts of it that are okay, but again, that like Chad said, they're trying to make Star Trek into Star Wars. They dumbed down Star Wars or Star
Yeah.
Trek,
Yeah.
and that's so. Again, it's a slap in the face to us Star Trek fans who liked it because it was the intellectual exercise
You're
of
right.
well, these are big ideas and presented in sci-fi, and it's like that's what's missing from current Star Trek, and it is infuriating. And again, it's a relief to watch Mandalorian and get what we had hoped for and be like, oh yeah, these are the people that know what they're doing with a franchise. Okay, from a television standpoint. Again, the sequels speak for themselves, unfortunately. But
So
you know,
you guys do a good job. Your show that you guys do about Star Trek.
oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't want to be one of those troll kind of people. And but it's infuriating. It really is. And I love when I talk to guys who helped us out from a mainframe standpoint, like Rob Burnett. I mean, Rob is a chess master Star Trek fan. I am a student, but but again, I've been watching it. I'm 10 years older than you guys. I mean, I've been watching Star Trek for like over 50 years.
I was always when Next Generation came on the cover TV guide, and I was working at Mimo's restaurant when the first episode appeared, and I watched it, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go back and rewatch all the videotapes my brother-in-law had on the original series, and I always say this: the original series was better than Next Generation. Just the cast was better in Next Generation. That's it. The better stories were absolutely the original series.
It took a couple of years for Next Gen to really get its footing. And
when the Klingon War started, that was good.
Oh yeah, but also when like every season it got better, and then the end of that third season, Best of Both Worlds,
Borg,
with the Borg and Mr. Worf Fire or whatever, whoever fired, if it was Data, I don't remember. But it's like, oh my God, you really weren't sure because it's like, oh, maybe Patrick Stewart's going to leave and they're going to continue with Riker. I guess that could happen. That would be interesting. You really didn't know, and that was amazing. So and the subsequent shows. My favorite Star Trek is Deep Space Nine. I love Deep Space Nine. I think it's a great show. And again, that was a show. It took a lot of setup. That first season seemed clunky. It is much more palatable now, knowing where the show went. It's easier to watch.
Like that show, John, seemed to really take off when they gave Sisko a ship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the fact that it was always just in the same spot, kind of was stagnant for like the first 2 seasons, and it wasn't until he got his own ship. But at the same time, I also think that when it came to Next Generation, I always wanted to know why when they decided let's do movies, why Q, who was the main protagonist of the entire series, was never utilized as a protagonist for a movie. It was just Borg. Well,
it was just really one Borg movie.
It was Borg,
Romulans.
Remian Romulans.
Right.
Remian Romulans, and then you had themselves.
Yeah, Insurrection. Insurrection would have been a great episode. Way too bloated to be a movie, in my opinion. And Generations was Generations.
It was cute.
You had to have that. You had to have that
Passing
thing
the torch.
It on. I get that one. But like you guys were saying, Insurrection and everything else. You had Tom Hardy, who now is like someone who should have won an Oscar for The Revenant as the Picard clone and all that. But I still wonder why John Delancey was never brought back.
I wish I could tell you.
To truly be the ultimate,
Well, I am hoping that Picard at some point. I mean, it sounds like they have a 3-season plan. Maybe that final season will involve Q, and I think it should because. Right? Well, I would think so.
To die. No offense, but I want him to die.
Oh no!
I think the series.
Yeah, exactly.
And Q is the last thing he sees when he says, "Now you're coming with me."
Right.
And then a giant whale come out of nowhere and eat him. That's my favorite movie.
From a cave, exactly. No, I'm all for it. Forgive me again for hijacking.
I will always
Mando talk to Star Trek.
I always cross Warriors and Trekkies all the time. Warriors and Trekkies. There's no longer a rival at this point.
No, and I
think it's fun the way it is. And if anything could happen, I always say that The Big Bang Theory did more for Star Trek and Star Wars fans getting together than anything other than
You're right about
con.
that.
I remember the first celebration I went to. I saw a guy dressed up as it was a combination of a Mandalorian and you know it was a Mandalorian and not a Klingon, the Cardassians.
Oh,
with
sure. Yeah, you have the
the
lizard
long
people.
necks.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he was an actual borrowed his costume. This was in Vegas. Borrowed his costume from the hotel in Vegas where he worked to dress that up, and then bought like the Mandalorian gear and walked around that way. It was pretty badass.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, Potsy, you talk about going to see Galaxy's Edge down at Disney. I used to go, especially in the 90s and I guess it was actually in the 2000s when the Las Vegas Hilton had the Star Trek Experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Museum and ride. Because I worked for a sports talk radio station, they would send me to Vegas for boxing all the time. And I would just always like build in a day where I would spend the day at the Vegas Hilton and just live Star Trek. And it was you could eat at Quark's bar, which was fantastic. And they had Klingon waiters and Ferengi waiters and stuff.
I actually
Romulan ale.
Well, I had to go to the bathroom there, and I was really hungover, and I was up all night. It was Super Bowl weekend. I asked the waitress where I could drop the captain's log.
Nice.
Yeah,
very charming.
I got to look like, really, dude. I'm like, have you ever heard that one? They're like, no. I'm like, God, I've been waiting to use that forever.
I would order a Warp Core Breach, which was this amazing rum punch on dry ice, and it was smoking and stuff. And I would literally watch like afternoon football and stuff, waiting for my flight, and be like, "This is the best thing in the world."
The Las Vegas Hilton was the only sports book I liked in Vegas, and I went every 4 times, 5 times, 8 times a year. And I would always go to that sports book, and I would do the phaser shots, but I'd ask for a big one, and I'd sit there the whole day and just sit there sipping on this drink that I knew was going to give me way over the top. It was
always, and again, because I was
triangle
boxing. It was
the
amazing.
Triangle hamburgers, though. The hamburgers were triangles.
Oh, I didn't have that.
I used to eat there. I used to go there all the time.
That's hilarious.
One of the last what I want to do about the Mandalorian before I left, I wrote this down. What you guys want to see, but is there? Do you think that when we talked about the Western, what other theme is there? A theme that you kind of think they're going to add that they haven't seen? We've seen the Prison Break. We haven't seen the 70s French Connection chase yet.
Oh, that's hilarious!
And I want that kind of a, kind of like that Winter Soldier French Connection chase kind of episode. I want to see that.
I think we're going to get a pirate scene.
That's so funny because literally, well, now do you mean from a smuggling standpoint, pirates? Because I was going to say we haven't seen an aquatic Star Wars scene, and I mean, I'd like to see them on the water on a planet as a change of pace.
Yeah,
I don't know if
that makes sense.
But I don't know if
they did that. It'd probably be like a Moby Dick type scene, with a giant whale or something.
Wouldn't that be an opportunity too to see? Isn't it the calamari's? It's a trap.
It's where
Mon Calamari on the planet.
Yeah.
Mon Calamari. Yeah, that would be. You can do there, and you also have the
Naboo.
Well, that's true. I fucking
the
hate
Gungans.
But where
and you have the quarks, the people, the squid faces.
But think about this. There's a scene. There's a scene in the new trailer where he's standing on a ship.
I didn't see that on the trailer. That's awesome.
On the water, and it's very dark and it's storming. Let's think back to the prequels. Where was Django? That planet was already underwater.
Right, that rainy planet. Yeah.
So
cloners, Camino.
This could be an opportunity. Hey, JD.
Yeah,
I know your kids are getting grouchy.
Yep. I'm gonna bounce. What do you got?
No, I'm good, man. I was gonna let you.
He's gonna wrap up for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Good job, JD. Take it easy. I'm still translating.
All right, guys. Hey, we're gonna be back in a week with Golden Guys, but check out John Suntress over on Word Balloon and check out the podcast. Check out everything John does. He puts out content more than anybody I know, but this week he's taking a break and we conned him into coming on this show.
Well, and I'm repurposing a lot of what we did over at Baltimore Comic-Con. So if you missed it the first time or did go to Baltimore Comic Con live to watch the streams, Chuck and I have been chopping stuff up and posting it, and I'm posting it at Word Balloon, both audio and video, and that will continue this week as I recharge and take a moment to take inventory. And I bought a lot of assets that I want to start making more video and audio things. So I'm only trying to make the show better. But yeah, we had a lot of. I mean, I'm sure you guys talked about it here on Comic Core, all the great stuff we did at Baltimore.
But there's
really
a
proud.
big announcement next week coming too. So from Mainframe side, probably dropping it on Monday. So guys, with that being said, hey JD, say your saying.
Thanks for being a friend.